Recently, Bernie Sanders was in Kansas, along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in order to help stump for progressives James Thompson and Brent Welder, who both have upcoming elections. And in his speech, Bernie talked about creating a government that works for all of us and not just the wealthy.
Now, the reason that I am here, and I know that Alexandria is here, is because many of the media pundits, they have divided this country up between so-called blue states and so-called red states. I don't believe that for a second. I believe that every state in this country where working people are struggling for a decent life is a state that will fight for justice. And whether you live in Vermont or the Bronx or Kansas, you are outraged by a situation in which 3 people in this country own more wealth than the bottom half of America. While at the same time, people in Vermont and in the Bronx and Kansas cannot afford child care, cannot afford health care, cannot afford prescription drugs, cannot afford to send their kids to college. And our message today is that we are going to create a government which represents all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Bernie talked about a lot of important issues here. I agree with him in the sense that I do not believe in quote-unquote blue states and quote-unquote red states. I don't believe in that at all. I think every state is winnable if you actually speak to the needs of people and strive to actually represent them. Because people have to deal with the same issues all over this country. Bernie talks about wealth inequality and how the richest 3 people in this country own more wealth than the bottom half of the country. And wealth inequality is an issue that affects people all over this country. The middle and working class has seen a significant portion of their wealth in the past 4 decades go to the people in the country who don't need it, aka the wealthiest people in this country. So much so that, as of 2016, the top 1% owns as much wealth as the bottom 80%, aka the middle and working class of this country. It's so messed up. There is no way the wealthy should own 90% of the country's wealth. Then Bernie talks about how people all over this country cannot afford childcare, healthcare, prescription drugs, or to send their kids to college. And those are very real issues. I mean, did you know that only 39% of Americans say they would be able to cover an unexpected $1,000 bill using their savings? Only 39%. That's not good. In terms of healthcare, medical expenses are the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States. In fact, 62% of all personal bankruptcies filed in the U.S. were filed due to medical expenses. And the sad thing is, it doesn't have to be this way. All we have to do is join the many countries around the world and guarantee healthcare to all of our people as a right. And you'd be able to drop the number of people who go bankrupt due to medical expenses down to 0. You'd also be able to reduce the many people who die per year due to lack of coverage down to 0. And guess what? Universal healthcare is something that most Americans support. In terms of education, the cost to go to college these days can be extremely high, and it leaves many people in debt. And the cost of college nowadays also makes it so that not everyone can afford to go to college, which is really messed up, because that's not equal opportunity. In a moral and just society, the amount of money you are born into should not affect your ability to get an education. Education should be a human right. We already guarantee education K through 12. It's time we extend that education into college. A lot of countries already have, and most Americans want to. In terms of prescription drugs, we spend by far more per person on healthcare than any other country on earth, including all of the countries that already have universal healthcare. The drug companies and the insurance companies are ripping the American people off, and it's time we stand up to them. It's time we lowered the prices of prescription drugs. And you know what? Again, most Americans agree. And most Americans agree that childcare should be provided to all of our people as a right. And yet it isn't. And that's really the point here. The majority of the American people want these things. They want universal health care. They want to make public colleges and universities tuition free. They want to guarantee child care to all of our people as a right. They want to lower the cost of prescription drugs. They want these things. That's why I just don't buy into this red state, blue state concept. The majority of the Americans are on the same page in regards to these issues. The American people want to create a government that works for all of us and not just the wealthy. So let's keep fighting, guys, and let's do it. Let's create a government that works for all of us and not just the wealthy. Hey guys, if you want to help out this show, you can follow our various social media links. Also, we have a Facebook group that you can join as well. And if you want to follow me on social media, you could do that as well. Alright guys,